Narrating this tale. Years have passed since then. When my sister died, I began sharing this tale. Thus, it has taken me years to reach this tier. I always stick to my words. I'm always loyal to what transpired. Furthermore, I'm not sure if my approach was correct or not. I don't believe there was. Additionally, there was no right or wrong way to narrate the tale that I discussed with my therapist. It's amazing Braxton has had it. The middle Braxton sister eventually lost it after being publicly teased and being silent for days. Additionally, the remarks she made during her unexpected Instagram live have left admirers stunned, moved, and sharply divided. It all began with Michael Braxton Jr. acknowledged that Towanda was Ashley's birth mother rather than her aunt. The internet was rocked by that discovery. Even more startling, though, was Wanda's response. She revealed, with trembling hands and an angry voice, how Evelyn Braxton had gaslit her for more than 20 years, coerced her into quiet, and used family loyalty as leverage. However, she didn't end there. Towanda arrived for while they silently watched her break. Michael, Tamar, and even Tony were accused of abandoning her to bear the shame. This was more than a meltdown. It was a reckoning. Anne too is prepared to share her perspective for the first time ever. It all started with Michael Braxton Jr., a man with red eyes, a trembling voice, and a guilty expression, seated across from a television crew that had been bothering him for a long time. In an unexpected one-on-one interview that was posted to the YouTube channel of a small gospel network, Michael did something that followers had never anticipated. He acknowledged that he was Ashley's brother, and that too was her mother. The interview was unvarnished, heartfelt, and unadulterated. I believed that was what love meant, so I remained silent for a very long time. Mama said we'd go to hell if we told the truth, that it would ruin the family. But I ruined it by saying nothing. Michael paused, scratched his face and then uttered the famous words. Ashley's aunt, to be sure. She is her mother, and she has been living a lie because of me. The world went cold. Tamar had been the one bearing the weight of truth until now. It was she who made it visible, and caused the wound to open. However, Michael's admission lent it credibility, and demonstrated that this wasn't an outlandish assertion, or a marketing gimmick. It had its roots in generational pain, and was genuine and sinister. The video became popular in less than an hour. But what no one expected was the sheer fury that erupted from Towanda Braxton the moment she saw it. Towanda's tipping point. Towanda appeared on Instagram Live less than 12 hours after Michael's confession was broadcast. Her voice was full of seething wrath without any introduction or warning. She used 5 words to begin the stream. Thus, you'll believe that I'm weak. Her eyes were wet but furious, and her face was flushed. And Tand retaliated for the first time since Toma revealed the truth. I want to be clear. This is not the life I asked for. I never requested to bear secrets that I didn't create. However, Mama urged me to carry them because that's what daughters do. Since Michael promised to keep me safe. Additionally, Tamar. For decades, she remained silent. She now wants to be the hero. No. She pounded the table with her fist. Does Michael want to cry in front of the camera now? Where when I had to pass my child and act like I wasn't her mother, was it really worth crying? After giving birth, Mama told me I couldn't hold her for longer than 15 minutes. Where was that? Fans were stunned. It wasn't denying anything to Wanda. She was verifying it. But with anger, resentment, and the anguish of having been silently buried alive. Tony, Tamar, and the sisters are pulled. But Michael wasn't the end of it. Next, she pulled Tamar along. Do you really believe I'm blind to this? In order to control the narrative, you are attempting to tell the story yourself. You knew, girl. And you didn't say anything until you believed it would go viral. You would have protected me first if you had wanted to protect Ashley. Tony then arrived. Tony Bin was aware that she was the eldest. She assisted Mama in shutting me down. Said image is crucial. Claimed that others wouldn't comprehend. So you're grinning in pictures from the red carpet, while I'm dying on the inside. You had the audacity to lie in front of my daughter while holding her, Tony. Without even blinking, Tamer replied in the live comments, "Don't do this, T. You know why I waited. You know what Mama did to all of us. Stop talking, girl." The conversation blew up. This is crazy. I'm done being silent. Not her calling out each of her sisters by name. These are not the values of the Braxton family. This retaliation from the Braxton family. Towanda had expressed every feeling she had repressed for more than 20 years at the end of the 29 heartbreaking minutes of the Instagram live. She blew up, not simply went off. The internet was already in disbelief as Towanda's Instagram stream finished. However, things were quickly falling apart behind the scenes. Within minutes after the show, phones were ringing, public relations representatives were rushing, and one woman in particular was already crafting a well-crafted rebuttal, according to Braxton insiders. The matriarch of the Braxton family, Evelyn Braxton, has already faced criticism for decades of rumored manipulation, was aware that things had changed. The secret was revealed by Tamer's truth. Michael's admission proved it, but Wanda's unbridled, uncontrollable, and devastating wrath was what totally turned popular sympathy against Evelyn. When the home began to fire, Evelyn did what she always did. She produced the Bible. Evelyn's statement, "We all fall short." The next morning, Evelyn uploaded a formal letter to her Facebook site with the heading, "To whom it may concern, my family is hurting." The message began with a quote from Jeremiah 29 verse 11, before delving into a gentle diversion cloaked in Christianese. "Even when we are unable to comprehend His intentions for us, the Lord is aware of them. My kids are in pain. My heart is shattered. I brought them up to value family above anything else. I apologize if they feel mistreated. To keep them safe, however, was the only thing I did." She didn't ask questions. Ashley's name escaped her. She didn't have to give Michael's name, but she did. The post seemed to be a subtle dismissal, and the public was aware of it. "Who is safe, Miss Evelyn? They weren't protected by you. You kept them quiet. You're not avoiding responsibility by citing the Bible once more. Wandering snapped because of this. You continue to gaslight people." The outcry happened quickly. The letter was published on major platforms with headlines such as "Evelyn deflects responsibility with religious rhetoric," and "The matriarch still won't say her name." Evelyn had clearly lost control of the story. And Ashley vanished in the midst of this mayhem. Ashley erases her accounts once more. A few hours after Evelyn's letter went online, fans noticed Ashley Braxton's YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok sites had vanished. Disappeared. There was quiet, no explanation, and no farewell video. She was emotionally spent after witnessing both Towanda's breakdown and Michael's confession, according to people close to her. Several late-night calls that ended in tears and hang-ups are said to have followed the already heated altercation at Towanda's house. Ashley is tired of being the storyline. She wanted truth, not headlines, and now the whole world is watching her heal in real time. But she's still bleeding, an anonymous friend told the Jasmine brand. Even Tamer, who is typically outspoken and aggressive, kept things simple. She protect Ashley. That's all I care about now, she wrote on X, but it's surprising that she wasn't finished. Towanda comes back to life. Mama is still acting like a victim. Went live once more just a day after Ashley's social media lockdown and Evelyn's message. It wasn't anger this time. It was restrained rage. She was obviously shaken as she spoke gently, but every word was pointed. That letter was a scripture-wrapped news release. It wasn't an apology. As usual, Evelyn Braxton was acting like the innocent victim as her children choked on the truths she forced upon them. Mama never apologized to me for what she let happen. She made me believe that my shame was protection, that silence was obedience. But I was scared. And y'all kept telling me God wanted this, Towanda continued. I want Ashley to know. The moment shattered, viewers. This is the Towanda wonder we needed. She's devastated instead of angry, and Evelyn hasn't mentioned her name yet. I never stopped loving you, even though I was never allowed to express it. I'm sorry, I wasn't strong enough to fight for you back then. The internet was in disbelief as soon as this Instagram live ended, but behind the scenes, things were falling apart quickly. According to Braxton insiders, within minutes of the broadcast, phones were ringing, PR representatives were rushing, and one woman in particular, Evelyn Braxton, was already crafting a well-crafted response. The Braxton matriarch, who had already come under fire for decades of alleged manipulation, knew the tide had turned. When the house began to burn, Evelyn did what she always did. She pulled out the Bible and said, "We all fall short." Tamar's truth revealed the secret, and Michael's confession confirmed it. However, Wanda's raw, uncontrollable, and heartbreaking rage completely turned public sympathy against Evelyn. Evelyn wrote a formal letter to her Facebook site the next morning, headlined, "To whom it may concern, my family is grieving." The message began with a passage from Jeremiah 29 verse 11, and began with a soft-spoken misdirection cloaked in Christian compassion. Even when we don't understand, the Lord is aware of His intentions for us. My kids are in pain. She didn't identify Ashley, Michael, or anybody else, but I raised them to value family above all else. If they feel offended, I apologize, but I just did what I believed was necessary to keep them safe. My heart is torn. However, she didn't have to. The post seemed to be a subtle dismissal, and the public was aware of it. Safe for whom, Evelyn? You didn't keep them safe, instead, you kept them silent. This is the reason to the backlash was immediate, with major platforms reposting the letter with headlines like "Evelyn deflects responsibility with religious rhetoric," and "The matriarch still won't say her name." It was evident that Evelyn had finally lost control of the narrative, and Ashley vanished in the midst of this mayhem. Ashley deletes her accounts once more. A few hours after Evelyn's letter went live, fans noticed that Ashley Braxton's YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok pages were all gone. There was no explanation, no farewell video, just silence. People close to Ashley claim that she was emotionally spent after witnessing both Towanda's breakdown and Michael's confession. After the already heated altercation at Towanda's residence, there were apparently other late-night calls that ended in tears and hang-ups. An anonymous source told the Jasmine brand, "Ashley is tired of being the storyline. Truth, not headlines, was what she desired. She is still bleeding even though everyone is watching her heal in real time." That quote struck a deep chord. Even Tamar, who is typically outspoken and aggressive, kept things simple. "Protect Ashley. That's all I care about now," she wrote on X, but to goes live once more. Mama continues to act like a victim. To went live once more just a day after Ashley's social media lockdown and Evelyn's message. It wasn't anger this time. It was restrained rage. She was obviously shaken as she spoke gently, but every word was pointed. That letter was a scripture-wrapped news release. It wasn't an apology. As usual, Evelyn Braxton was acting like the innocent victim as her children choked on the truths she forced upon them. To continue, Mama never apologized to me for what she let happen. She made me believe that my shame was protection, that silence was obedience, but I was 17. I was scared. And you all kept telling me God wanted this. She started crying again. But there's more heartache this time, less fire. I'd like Ashley to know. I never ceased to love you. Even though I was never permitted to express it. I apologize for not being able to defend you at the time. Viewers were devastated by the moment. This is the Toad now. She is no longer upset. She is shattered. Evelyn hasn't mentioned her name yet. Fans were still waiting for a single voice, as T's quiet breakdown shook social media. While the rest of the family was collapsing, one sister had remained utterly silent. Braxton, Tony. She remained silent for days. No tweets, no lives, and no public backing for Ashley, or even Evelyn. Supporters were divided. Some claimed she was remaining impartial. Some referred to it as calculated silence. However, that quiet was broken when Tony made an unexpected appearance in a sit-down interview with Essence Live. Tony talks. Secrets poison rather than protect. Tony Braxton spoke cautiously while wearing all black and with obvious emotion. Yet forcefully. It's not about me, therefore, I didn't want to talk. However, things might have been worse if you had remained silent for too long. Then the time arrived. Yes, I was aware. Everybody knew. When Ashley was still in nappies, Mama told us. She warned that if it wasn't buried, our family name would be ruined. I'm embarrassed to admit that I did agree. Gasping. The interviewer blinked. I now realize that by remaining silent, I was shielding myself from curiosity. Not each of us, but all of us were defending Mama. Tony's voice cracked as he paused. I apologize if you're watching, Ashley. I ought to have said anything before Tamar did. Fans were taken aback. The significance of her remarks was clear even to those who had backed Tony's silence. Now, that's responsibility. At last, Tony said what had to be said. The dynamic was completely reversed by the eldest sister. However, nobody was prepared for what came next. Everything was altered by the voicemail leak. On the same day that Tony's interview aired, a voicemail that was purportedly placed by Evelyn Braxton to Towanda 2 weeks prior to Tamar's the live stream went viral. It was a terrifying voicemail that was uploaded anonymously to Reddit. You know better than to allow your emotions to interfere with God's plan. That infant wasn't pure enough to wander from birth. We took the necessary action. Don't exacerbate this. Avoid opening doors that you are unable to close. Fans examined the video right away. Experts in audio verified that the voice belonged to Evelyn. The suggestion that Ashley was a mistake that needed to be concealed, the coldness, the control. Evelyn was portrayed as a puppet master, who used prayer and stillness to bury suffering rather than as a bereaved mother. You'll hear it now, she wrote as she replayed the voicemail on her Instagram story. Reddit threads erupted with indignation. I wasn't crazy. I was controlled. Users criticized Evelyn for using religion as a tool to excuse abuse, and the phrase, born of purity, went viral. In a single sentence, Evelyn Braxton completely obliterated Ashley's humanity. I can now understand why Tamar disrupted the quiet. This woman still believes that by murdering her own lineage, she is carrying out God's will. Gospel groups even started to distance themselves. The Braxton family was split in two after a pastor from Atlanta publicly declined a speaking invitation, stating, "There's no healing in secrets, only harm." Nobody anticipated the rippling effect of the voicemail leak. Tony and Tamar started following one another on Instagram once more. An indication that they were at last agreeing. After unfollowing Tony, Trina shared a mysterious narrative. Drama is more appealing to you than healing. In a since-deleted tweet, Ashley's cousin hinted at even more mysteries. You would completely destroy that family tree if you knew what else Mama Evelyn buried. Moral differences now separated the sisters. Ashley, Tony, and Tamer stood in for the truth-tellers. Although they didn't say anything, Trina and perhaps Trace's estate, which was managed by her husband, seemed uneasy. Stood in the midst, neither ready to completely destroy her mother nor to defend the past. Her spokesperson, Evelyn, also issued a brief statement. Unauthorized recordings are not being addressed by Mrs. Braxton. She is unwavering in her love and faith for each and every child. Fans, however, have already made up their minds. A big news organization intervened, just when the internet believed there was no more to this Braxton family drama. In a startling revelation, Braxton Truth, Tamer, Tony, and To Face the Fallout was an exclusive sit-down interview co-sponsored by Bet and OW. It was designed to be the most explosive. Over 12 million people watched the live broadcast of the first-ever family reunion. What had begun as a careful talk became a broadcasted emotional earthquake as cameras rolled and passions raged. The meeting starts. Everyone is tense. The three sisters were seated next to each other. Tamer was calm yet obviously cautious. Tony is attempting to be Wanda's peacemaker. Face taut, arms folded, energy poised to explode. Gail King, the host, opened softly. Let's be clear, ladies, before we start. Now is your chance to speak without hesitation or fear. However, the question was who leaped in first. I'm done waiting for permission since I've already been interrupted for 25 years. The audience let out a gasp. Tamer touched his arm. Towanda withdrew. Avoid doing that. Don't try to make me feel better. It was your moment. It's my time now. Tamer attempted to reply, but Gail intervened right away, directing the conversation back to Ashley and Evelyn's voicemail. Wanda's tone changed, becoming more dejected than angry. My daughter was referred to as impure by her. I should never have brought her into the world, she murmured. Do you still want me to keep her safe? While Mama was destroying me, I stood up for her. Tony dabbed at a tear. Tamer gave a silent nod. The moment that altered everything was then dropped. The bit that no one said on video is something you'll want to know. Evelyn Braxton made a threat to put me in a mental health facility if I told Ashley the truth. Screams, gasps, then complete quiet. Tamer's face froze as she replied, You tell anyone, and I'll tell the world you're unstable. That you hallucinated the whole incident. Tony murmured, Wait, she said that. Wanda slowly turned to face the camera. Mama, if you're watching this, you told me silence would save me, but it only saved you. Evelyn collapsed backstage, and the emergency crew was called, which fans didn't see until a crew member leaked it hours later. Evelyn Braxton was present at the taping, watching everything on a live monitor, in a private green room. When Wanda said those words, Evelyn allegedly started hyperventilating, trembling, and saying, No, no, no. She wasn't supposed to say that. A nurse was sent in, followed by paramedics, and the leaked footage showed Evelyn slumping to the floor, gasping for air. Her spokeswoman later confirmed that it was a stress-induced fainting spell, but she was stable and recovering, but fans weren't moved. Her mask cracked, causing her to pass out. Now that the control is gone, so is the image. Don't collapse now, Mom. You built this stage. Public reactions and fallout. Within hours of the televised interview, Past Towanda was trending. X-Star gained 1.5 million followers. Ashley's cousin started a GoFundMe called Ashley's Healing Fund, which raised $80,000 in 48 hours. even longtime fans of Evelyn, who once saw her as a strong spiritual mother figure, acknowledged that this moment signaled the end of the matriarch's reign. Oprah wrote on Instagram, "Truth heals, but only when we stop worshipping false peace." Gayle King described it as the most emotionally difficult interview she has ever done, and Amazon stopped pre-orders for Evelyn's memoir in response to widespread public outcry. The world had witnessed the Braxtons for years as a close-knit, cohesive family, but they weren't simply destroyed, they were reborn in the ruins. The world was left with only one question after weeks of public revelations, media spectacles, and the exposure of generational secrets. However, beneath the harmonies was a horror show of secrets, silencing, and suffering. Towanda had finally set her soul on fire, not out of retaliation, but out of survival. Ashley Braxton, the girl whose stolen identity ignited the Braxton family wildfire, was nowhere to be found. In a pre-recorded YouTube video, Ashley is seen sitting alone on a plain couch, her voice steady, her eyes glassy, and her energy finished hiding. She says, "I loved my mother even when I didn't know she was her. I didn't come back to be pied. I came back to speak for myself," Ashley said, her voice trembling but adamant. "For 20 or so years, I thought I was just a niece, a cousin, a side note in a family full of stars," Ashley said. "I never would have guessed that my mother would be the one to give me the strongest hug." She talked about the betrayal, the bewilderment, and the love. "Towanda loved me in quiet, which I can now see, but it destroyed me, and Mama Evelyn took the opportunity for us to be what I forgive my mother, but I won't forget the silence," she said, ultimately breaking down in tears. "We were meant to be a mother and daughter." Fans flocked to the comment area, saying, "This is Ashley's story now. Her strength is unbelievable. She's more emotionally mature than the entire family combined. I'm leaving the Braxton name. Nor Evelyn's, nor Tamar's. Hers." Towanda's final decision. Later that night, Tanda sent a written message on her Instagram. "A strong, armed, and soul-bearing to my younger self, I'm sorry I didn't protect you," said the post titled "A Letter to Myself. I choose peace. I apologize for allowing guilt to outweigh love. You are not my error, Ashley. You are my salvation. I ought to have put up a stronger fight. I'm fighting right now. I'm done with my family. I'm leaving the stage, the performance, the name, and the mayhem behind. Monique is my new name. Just me, no baggage, no Braxton." She concluded by quoting Maya Angelou. "Having an untold narrative inside of you is the most agonizing thing there is." In a matter of minutes, the post became viral. Tamar and Tony both made heartfelt comments. Evelyn remained silent. The Braxton brand disintegrates and reconstructs. The Braxton family values reboot in the days that followed was formally cancelled. Tamar revealed Uncovering Bloodlines, a new documentary executive produced by Oprah. Inspired by truth, betrayal, and healing, Tony started producing a concept album. Additionally, it was rumored that Towanda was negotiating a six-figure advance for a memoir contract. However, neither money nor media saw the largest change. It was perceived. The Braxton was usually regarded as strong, refined, and occasionally almost flawless. However, the world now recognized them for who they truly were, broken, beautiful, and struggling in public to recover. In the midst of it all, Ashley was at last acknowledged as a survivor rather than a scandal. This was more than a familial breakdown. It was an intense emotional exorcism. It didn't just happen to Towanda. She stood strong in the ashes of generational suffering, recovered her voice, and destroyed the bonds of silence Evelyn had placed around her spirit. Ashley's rebirth and Tanda's recovery marked the end of what began with Tamar's truth. The Braxton family tale, from admissions yelled into the spotlight to lies muttered behind closed doors, reminded that world secrets poison rather than protect. And now, The legacy that once shone with Grammy victories and gospel roots is being completely reconstructed. Not under Evelyn's authority, but by the daughters who ultimately opted for honesty over allegiance. In order to ensure that you never miss another installment in this incredible drama, please hit the like, subscribe, and tap the bell buttons if this shocked, moved, or caused you to doubt everything. Leave a comment below. Did she just destroy what remained of the Braxton name? Or was it correct to turn away from it? There is no doubt that the silence has vanished. And the sound of this family will change forever.